Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time. My name is Tim Murdoch.
And my name is Matt Emmert. And hey, Tim, I know what you did last summer.
What?
Hung around and drank and went to West Hollywood, the usual.
True.
Yeah. Anyway, this is our review of the new I Know What You Did Last Summer, and we are so grateful to have a guest with us to break this down. He is the host of the Scream with Ryan C. Showers podcast. So please welcome to Happy Horror Time, Ryan C. Showers.
Oh my God, Ryan sees showers. How are you guys doing?
Ryan C. Showers. Hey, Ryan, when you're outside and it's raining and you look through the window, does Ryan see showers?
Daddest joke I've ever heard.
Daddy's home.
Hey, better daddest than baddest. Okay, I'll take it. So, Ryan, thank you for being here. Now, Ryan, you've been doing your podcast for how long?
5 years. I'm on season 5.
Oh my God, I love that you have seasons. Tim and I, we don't have seasons because it never ends.
Don't stop.
We just wait. Do you take breaks between your seasons?
No, so it's more so for me. It's just a dorky thing just because I am obsessed with TV, growing up with Buffy and thinking about a season in terms of the goals and the ambitions and the themes. So I try to do that with my show, and it's just fun to say, I'm on season 5. It makes me sound smart and prestigious. So
I love it. Well, okay, for listeners who have possibly caught us on Ryan's show, we did an episode, Jacob, Tim, and myself, earlier where we went on Ryan's show. There's another episode coming up where I'm making another appearance on the show. So we have definitely been on Ryan's podcast, but this is his first appearance on ours. But before we even get into our connection, tell our listeners about Scream with Ryan C. Showers, how it started, what got you so into the Scream series, all that.
Sure. So, and just for the record, if you are a listener of Matt and Tim and you haven't heard them on my show, their first episode was 222. I love that it's just an in sync number like that. So episode 222, it's very fun. And Jacob has been on a bunch, of course, but Matt, your episode, we're doing an episode about Scream and Halloween. It's coming up probably the first or second week of August. It's coming out. So.
I can't wait. And we had the best time. So it's a great one.
We did. So So my podcast, I like to describe it as the film critic meets the Scream fan. So basically, I am a massive fan of Scream. I love it so much. It's been a part of my life for so long, and I know it so in-depthly. And but I also come from the film critic world. I was a film critic at Next Best Picture and Awards Daily for a good 10 years before I started my own podcast. And I think what happened was it was during the pandemic, and we were building up to Scream 5, and Scream 5 was being filmed. The fandom was really coming alive again, in the Facebook groups and online, on Twitter and everything. And it was just things were alive. And I was falling in love with Scream again, and we were all home, so I was watching Scream a lot, and there have been conversations I've had in my head and ideas I've had in my head about Scream, since I was 12 years old. So I kind of just there was one day I was writing this big long post on social media describing Roman's motive as it relates to Sydney and how much deeper it is than we all realize. And I thought to myself, I just wrote out this 800 words. Why not do a podcast about this? Because I was doing podcasts for the Oscars and the Oscar movies at that time. And it was just fun to think about all the training I had from those years at Next Best Picture, translating that to my own show. And it has been a blast. I mean, honestly, I know this sounds cheesy, but I really am just obsessed with the work. I have 2 shows that come out every week. Wow. And I have just a dying passion to analyze and to be creative using Scream and the Scream surrounding culture. It's just my favorite thing in the world. And, my podcast caught on pretty quickly. The first year I had Marianne Maddalena on the show. I had Radio Silence on the show. I had the writers on the show of 5 and 6. And, the Scream has gone very ups and downs since we started out, since before Scream 5. It's even hard to imagine a time before Scream 5 at this point. But that's just how long the podcast has been going on. So it's been a very fun journey. It's been also challenging at times, just based off of how challenging the Scream culture became at certain points. But I am so excited. I feel like the best days of my show are ahead of us as an original trilogy person. I'm excited that Neve Campbell is back. I'm excited that Kevin Williamson is directing and in charge of the franchise, hopefully going forward. And I'm happy that hopefully Gail has a real there's a recommitment to her character. So even though I've been doing this for 5 years, I do not plan on stopping for ever. So
no, that's great. And I mean, like, we really admire how, like, for us, since we cover all things horror, like, it's very easy to, always have something new to talk about, whether it's, we review new releases and we interview people from past movies, and our bonus episodes on Patreon or like past franchise and things like that. And it just feels like there's so much to grab from. With Scream, there's a finite amount of material, but you've been able to have different sorts of conversations about so many like intricate details of the series, which, like, if you are a Scream fan, you need to listen to his podcast. Yeah, Ryan really goes in depth into so many great topics. You're a great communicator. Like, what you're talking about, and you have really smart opinions on the movies. So yeah, and speaking of, you mentioned Kevin Williamson, that is kind of the tie-in for why we wanted Ryan on our show. I mean, obviously, we could wait until Scream 7 comes out and review that with him, and we probably will. But we didn't want to wait any longer. And I Know What You Did Last Summer. Obviously, the original movie was written by Kevin Williamson during that whole post-Scream era. So we figured this is a great kind of Kevin Williamson Screamish tie to have you come on and talk about the new movie with us. Now, I want to know, when did you first hear about our show?
Oh my God. So I guess it was, we're going to be talking about the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. And as I've kind of been like doing with my own show and other people's shows, I view Jennifer Caitlin Robinson as a very online person. Mm-hmm. And it shows in her film. I also happen to be a very online person. So, I've known about you guys for a while. I think we followed each other on Twitter and online for a couple of years. And I really became more interested in your show, of course, with your Kevin Williamson interview. But Jacob and I, producer Jacob, he and I became friends around the time that Neve Campbell was announced as returning for Scream 7. And we've had a really hard and fast friendship. And from there, I've kind of gotten to discover your show, and I've loved so many episodes. Like the Julie Benz episode is a huge thing for me. I'm a huge Buffy person. And yeah, I've as I say in episode 222, it's not off. I don't have the juices in my head right now, but go listen to episode 222 if you want to hear my review of Happy Horror Time on Scream with Ryan 6 Showers.
I do love that it's episode 222. So
I was hoping it was 227.
I was hoping it was 666. Tim's favorite. No, Tim, your favorite number is 13, right?
Really, of course.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so diving into the material. Well, before we even get into the new movie, because there's tons to say, and I can't wait to hear everyone's opinions, because I definitely had opinions on it. But I did want to go back and see when everyone first saw I Know What You Did Last Summer, and like what your thoughts were then. Starting with Tim. Tim, what do you remember when you first saw it?
I saw it 2 times, like back to back. My friend Leslie, she invited me down to the OSU campus. They were showing it for like students at the college. Of course, I wasn't a college student, but she's like,
wait, is this Ohio State University?
Ohio State University. They had like the screening for it, and afterwards they were going to talk like via, what's that, like not
well,
Zoom,
back then it would have been like
it was
Skype
or something. But so I remember I was chewing gum in the part where the hook like swiped at Sarah Michelle Gellar as she's going up the elevator.
Like, fully elevated, yeah.
My gum. I jumped. There was a good genuine jump scare. So I remember that. And then the next night I took my friend Lisa to the Westerville 6 Cinema, which no longer exists. So sad, I'm old. And I saw it again, and it was a packed house. Like, it was like sold out. So it was a really good time. So I remember both of my times seeing it in the theater like as really good experiences.
That's awesome. My kind of experience was, so it was the fall. I had just gone to college at Boston University. I had moved from Southern California to Boston University. And email had just started, or at least that was my first email address. And my best friend, who I'm still best friends with today, Josh, knows I love horror movies and knew I love Scream, and he's like, I just saw the scariest horror movie. It's called I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's based on some book, and I had remembered the book, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I ended up going and seeing it, and I loved it. It had all the hot cast of that day with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Phillippe and Freddie Prinze Jr. And I remember just really loving it to the point of that next summer when I went home to California for the summer. My friends and I was like in high school and college. college used to make like parody movies. I'm talking with a VHS camera, and we made a parody of I Know What You Did Last Summer called I Know What You Did Last Week. And it was just like something happened 1 week later.
Have I seen
it? No, because the quality is so bad. It is so like my humor is so crude, but we did make fun, like we did made it like parodied so many of the scenes in the movie. I was obsessed. So then when I Still Know came out, when I came home for Thanksgiving break, like I got all my high school friends together and we went and saw it in the theater. So that is my story. How about you, Ryan? Because I know you're a little bit younger than us. So
I am. I have youth and you guys have age. That's fine. So Tim, just to confirm, you went to Ohio State.
I dabbled, but like my friend Leslie was a full-blown student. I just took a bunch of acting classes, and I to be in the productions, I had to pose as a student.
Well,
I don't know.
You know, I'm from central Pennsylvania near Penn State. I mean, Penn State is like so intertwined with my life, between my education and my profession. And Tim, I have to say, you can't spell cocksucker without OSU. So,
wow, I have heard that.
Well, you know what, Tim? If the shoe fits. Let's get in. No. Wow.
All right. So I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's kind of crazy for me because, yes, I am younger. So I was born in 95, and I Know What You Did Last Summer came out in 97, of course. So
you saw it as a toddler.
Yeah, no. So I first saw Scream. I saw the first 3 Scream movies like on DVD and VHS in the mid 2000s, and I was so obsessed with them. It was like love at first sight, and I spent a lot of time with them, and then slowly started, dipping my toes into I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Halloweens, yada yada. And I just remember like I may have seen Scream around the Christmas time, and then like 9 months later, it was around August, September, I saw I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and just became like, I loved them as well. And I really loved the first one compared to the second one, of course. And I was also a Sarah Michelle Gellar fan. So, I got to watch Buffy for the first time at this time. So it was like I got to live the entire late 90s culture kind of within this year, in addition to checking out the classics like Halloween. And it was just like, I have such nostalgic memories of that time. It's just like, I wish I could go back and relive and kind of document that time, because I was just, I love this. I love these things so much.
I love hearing about people's experiences who were too young to see it in the theater and how they caught on to it, because it's like, that's me with Halloween, obviously. Like I wasn't even born when it came out, but then, so I had to see it on TV for the first time, or even Tim with Friday the 13th. It's like you were alive, but like obviously you were like 3 years old.
So it's always a bummer to me that I never got to see Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. I mean, I have made up for it since then.
Oh yeah.
But,
but that's the thing. So hearing about how people that were born and attaching themselves to movies that were out when they were too young to even see them, it's refreshing, because it makes you think that like you don't only have had to see these movies in the theater to appreciate them. Thoughts on like when you guys saw I Still Know, what were your thoughts as compared to the original? Tim?
Oh, okay. So in 1998, I just remember, do you remember the movie Clay Pigeons?
I never saw it.
Like, is that? And I remember my friends were like, should we see Clay Pigeons or I Still Know? And I was like, I still know. So
I still know.
Yeah. So we went and saw it. And I remember just being like, it felt rushed to me. But I still liked it because I remember getting the soundtrack. So obviously, but then again, we also didn't have TikTok and things to like, so
be everyone in the world opinion.
Soundtrack or a DVD, or I'm sorry, not DVD, CD, anything attached to the movie, I would get it and buy it. So yeah.
How about you, Ryan, when you saw I Still Know?
So I saw it right after I Know. And so it was fun to watch them back to back and have that full experience. And I think I always knew that I Still Know was inferior to I Know. I think that I Know you can see the Kevin Williamson dialogue and you can feel the characterization and the plot. And I think Jim Gillespie is such a good director in the first one, and the way that all of those elements were kind of missing from the second one. But I still enjoyed the second one for the Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. of it all. So yeah.
Yeah, my kind of thoughts were, I do remember when I first saw it, but remember, there was so much hype. I had literally spent all summer with my high school friends doing this dumb parody movie where I Know What You Did Last Summer was everything of the summer. And then I waited till the fall, went to see it, and I just remember being disappointed because it felt so different. I think part of it was the setting, being in the Bahamas, like in so much rain. Part of it was there were a lot more unlikable characters. Like I loved Brandy, but I hated her love love interest. All the Islanders, I was like, give or take, Jack Black especially. And I just remember feeling like it
feels like the 70s. For me,
it just felt so different. With that said, I have warmed up to the movie over the last, I'd say like 5 to 7 years, a lot because of Jacob. He really likes I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And so we often not just watch the first one, but watch the second one. And the more I've watched them together, the more I have liked I Still Know. Although I do have to say one thing, my sister was visiting recently, and we talk about this on the podcast all the time. We've been introducing my nephew, who's going to be 11 soon, like to all the horror stuff. He loves horror, and he had already seen I Know What You Did Last Summer, but hadn't seen I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. And like we're watching I Know What You Did Last Summer, great, and then we put on I Still Know, and like all those like weird scenes with Jack Black, and my sister's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, and I remember thinking that was totally my reaction the first time I saw it. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Didn't he take his name off of it because he felt like it was not politically correct?
He was just like such a stereotype and just a one-note comic relief character that like I often want, like I don't think Kevin Williamson, if he had written a sequel, would have ever put that character in there,
Yeah.
But I have warmed up to it. I got to ask you guys, have you seen I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer?
Sadly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Come on, it's so bad.
I can't even really comment on it because I barely remember it, but I do remember it feeling like a cheap music video, and I couldn't get into it to save my life.
The Fisherman's supernatural, so it's not like anything related to Ben Willis, nothing related to the characters. It was straight to streaming or DVD at that point. It was just so bad. So bad.
So I actually revisited it this past week. I had only ever seen it the one time way back. Again, we're talking like 2007. Okay. And it was, I was shocked. I mean, I think it's one of the like top 10 worst movies I've ever seen, but but I was like, is it really that bad? Could it really be that bad? It is that bad. The camera work is so disgusting. Like I can't even with this movie.
Yeah. It's very sad. It's a sad thing that they even attached because they will always be associated with the title's kind of cute and clever, and that's where it ends.
But that's the thing though, but I'll Always Know you would think would relate to the original storyline, because if it's totally new, what does the person always know? It's something new.
Well, but it wasn't this like the time, like before like really Halloween, in 2018, there wasn't a lot of copycat of like the original name for sequels, if that makes sense. So what would they have done, in terms of like, I think that like the name made sense, but it's so disappointing. It's disappointing that Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. never got that third movie back whenever the franchise was hot with them. I think that there was almost something unfulfilled back then by not giving them a third and final film.
Totally. And like, even that was what, 9 years after the original, but like they could have been a married couple and someone could have been hunting them. I don't know. There's a million things they could have done with it that they didn't do. Last question before we get into the new movie. How about the Amazon TV series? I don't remember if you...
I heard so much bad things about it. I didn't even attempt it.
How about you, Ryan?
I watched this. I was sick one weekend during law school. It was my first year of law school, and I got really sick, and I binged it all. And it wasn't terrible. It was watchable, but again, it's so disconnected from everything we know and love about I Know What You Did Last Summer. So it's, I feel like had the show come out on a different name, under a different name or an IP, it wouldn't be frowned upon. But it's so disconnected from the lore.
It reminds me of during our Kevin Williamson interview, we decided to start with I Know What You Did Last Summer just because we saved the Scream series for the end. And, we were asking him all about making that movie. And then we asked him about the sequel and how they actually had wanted him to be involved, but he was so busy like introducing Dawson's Creek and Scream 2 and everything that he couldn't do it. But then I asked him if he had seen the Amazon TV series, and he's like, no, what is it worth watching? And I was like, no. And I just remember because Jacob and I watched the whole thing. And I was just very excited for it. And I remember thinking at the beginning it had promise because there's like this twin aspect to it, and the accent was like killing one of the twins and the other twin poses as her. And I was like, that's interesting. But then it just went off the rails, and I didn't feel like it even related to I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, other than there was one message that said, I know what you did last summer, it really felt totally different. very sexual. Not that that's a bad thing, but it was like obviously they were trying to put in as many sex scenes and drugs and partying as much. Like they're like, ooh, we're Amazon, we can appeal to the people, but it just failed. The killer reveal was awful. Like it was just.
Did they have a man in a slicker and a hook?
Yes. Yes. I'm going to say that without giving anything away for spoiling things in case people want to revisit that series. I don't recommend it, but it was just, it was a downer. It is definitely, like you said, watchable. It is more watchable than I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. But that brings us to 2025. And finally getting the movie I think we had been wanting to get forever, because we have a return to Julie James and Ray Bronson's world of Southport in this I Know What You Did Last Summer. And it's funny because it's 28 years after the original came out. So we've all gotten a chance to see it. And, well, I guess before we dive into the plot, like, well, you know what? No, maybe I was going to get like first reactions of it, but I'm going to save it that because I feel like let's kind of go through it and go through stuff because there's a lot of things that, like I was kind of disappointed in this movie. I went into this movie really excited. I was so excited to see this movie. And before we went, I remember seeing like mixed reviews online from people. And I'm like, I'm not going to let any of that affect me. I love this series. I don't care what it is. I'm going to love this movie. And I didn't love it. I was very disappointed. I thought they kind of made a mockery of things and people weren't taking the event seriously and everything. I guess then maybe I'll get like what your initial reaction, like when you first saw it, Ryan.
Okay, well, so it's funny because I was thinking about like the fact that I was coming on Happy Horror Time, which is happy, right? You guys are always upbeat and fun, and like I didn't want to be the wet rag in terms of being disappointed in the new movie. And sadly, like so I've seen it twice. It gets better, it smooths out a little bit on the second viewing, but it's overall I'm a very big mixed bag. I think that the first like 45 minutes are pretty good, and then after that it just goes way off the rails, and it just becomes so sloppy. There are just like directorial and screenwriting problems that are with like, you know, with the narrative. It's just I just feel like there was it's very choppy. I think the use of the legacy wasn't it didn't deliver on what it was trying to deliver. I feel like it was uneventful in some respects as it pertains to Julie James. I think that the finale needed to be a lot longer. There's just a laundry list of notes that I have, despite having fun watching it. Like it's hard because like it is again, it's a watchable movie, but shouldn't we have our standards just a little bit higher than that whenever, you know, there are such crimes being committed in terms of cinema?
And I also want to caveat this, and then I want to get your initial thoughts, Tim, because even though I was disappointed, I still enjoyed watching it. Like there was no point when I was like, I'm going to walk out of this movie or anything like that. So everything I'm saying, take with a grain of salt, listeners, in terms of like, if I hated this movie, I'd be honest about it, or I would have just like not even wanted to stay for it, even though I don't really not walk out of movies, but I mean, so I still enjoyed it as I was like wondering what the fuck's going on. Like everything feels like a joke. Like these characters aren't even taking themselves seriously. Like everything for me, it was really the script that was really poor, and I think it's because they were really trying to make like what I would consider like stereotypical Gen Z type jokes among their friends getting murdered, and it just didn't land for me. But enough of me, Tim. Your initial thoughts, and I know you enjoyed a little more, so it's totally fine.
Like Ryan C. Showers, like 45 minutes into it, I was kind of like, oh wait, this movie is not. It's not up to par. Like there was a point while watching it, I was like, oh, they're not doing what I want it to do. But then again, who am I? You know what I'm saying? Like
a horror
you're
podcaster
a podcaster
and fan.
I mean, yes. I mean, like you're qualified to talk about it.
Okay, yeah. Like I wanted it to be a certain way, and when it didn't go my way, like I feel like I'm not really a controlling person, but it was just it really hit like a wall. It got really stale, and I've said this a million times. Being a huge Friday 13 fan, I love when people get killed, obviously, but like the kills were so uninspired. I was like, okay, you got a man with a hook, and there was no hook in the head. head. I mean, there was one in the neck, but I was just like, yeah, it just felt like a big missed opportunity. But I was so happy to see, like you said, all the legacy characters. And I didn't mind the hot, new, young, attractive cast. Overall, I thought they had some stuff to do, but like the chase scenes and the kills were
lack thereof. And speaking of the
wow.
hot new cast, I wanted to introduce the new friend dynamic that we get. I want to introduce them. Hey, everybody, Chase Sue Wonders. Or is it Chase Sue Wonders? Chase Sue Wonders?
I think it's Sue.
Chase Sue Wonders. Okay. We get there's 5 friends. There's Ava, played by Chase Sue Wonders, who's kind of we're already introduced as more of the responsible kind of final girl archetype. There's Danica, who's played by Madeline Klein, who's very much the Helen Shivers of the movie, but not as smart as Helen Shivers. She's more of the flighty, fun best friend, making jokes, all that kind of stuff. Then there's Danica's fiance at the beginning, Teddy, who is very much the angry jock type. He's played by Tyreek Withers, and I would compare it to a Barry type of character in the original.
The archetype.
Yeah, exactly. And then they have Milo, the sweet guy who's Ava's ex, played by Jonah Hauer King. He's like the Ray kind of thing, and so there's history between Ava and Milo. And then there's Stevie, who's kind of the outsider. They all talk about how they kind of dropped her as a friend because she had family issues and then had to go to rehab. And of course, that's exactly when you need your friends.
The Johnny Galwicki role, really.
Yeah, the outsider, exactly. The Max role, and she's played by Sarah Pigeon. Now, here's my issue with these people. I didn't. Even Ava and Danica, there wasn't any of these characters that I really liked. And I hate to say that, but it's this whole movie, I was just I just want to see Julie and Ray. And that's a problem because usually, in the Scream reboots, there were certain characters that I ended up really liking. I ended up really liking Tara and liked seeing her on. There are certain characters that I gravitated toward, but in this, I just didn't find any of these characters as likable or dynamic as the original 4 from 1997.
I go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Tim.
Oh, okay. So I thought Danica looked like she had a Michelle Williams look, and I thought Ava was likable enough. I thought she was oh gosh, I'm afraid I'm going to get crucified for this, but I thought she was a good final girl. I thought she was pretty good.
Wait, why are you going to get crucified?
Well, just because, I don't know. Do I compare her to Jamie Lee Curtis in Sydney?
I'll crucify you for that, but that's going to...
Let's just say, okay, she's better than the girl in Final Destination Bloodlines. That to me is rock bottom final girl. So she's better than that. But so I'm going to shock everybody here. I actually kind of forgot about Julie and Ray watching the movie. I'm oh yeah, they're kind of a part of the movie too. And it's not that the new characters were so great, but I do think that the story was original enough that I wasn't focused on, okay, when are they coming back? When are they coming back? Like I am in Scream with Sydney and Gail and Dewey. And, I say this as somebody who's kind of been at war with the Gen Z hype of Scream 6, and just, and how Scream 6, how insulting it was to Gail Weathers. And how they really pushed her to the side and made her an Act 2 only cameo. I didn't mind the new characters in terms of them driving the plot. Now, Danica, I'm sorry, I've had it with her. I can't. I do not like Madeline Klein. I thought her performance was one note. I can't with the baby talk. I can't with the final scene with her and how she comes back into the narrative at the end. That is literally the worst thing I've ever seen in my life, and I just want to scream. So
wow, okay. And Madeline Klein will be on our podcast next week. So
sorry.
No. I mean, look. I wasn't that angry at her. I just felt like she kind of she was part of the entire, they're all joking about things and not taking anything seriously. Everything seemed to be a joke. Although, at the beginning in the first scene, with that dynamic leading up to the accident, I guess there just weren't any, I don't know, how in the beginning of I Know What You Did Last Summer, you really Julie and even Helen. Helen seems like a really dedicated best friend, and Julie is very
realism to the people. These are a broad stroke stereotypes that at first I was oh, don't get me wrong, I love a dim-witted blonde, it was
one note,
yeah, it was just kind of one note. There was no layers. Sarah Michelle Gellar had, some layers.
I was just going to say that Helen is not a dim-witted blonde. Like, that's the thing about Helen Shivers. I felt like was a smart, blonde who did pageants and things and was probably mistaken, but she was very smart. Like, she had a career path. She knew what she was going to do. One other question for everyone. How the fuck old were these people? Because I never understood, were they in college? Were they grad? But I did catch a picture that's a class
2017.
Class of 2017.
So like 6 years out? 7?
Okay, so if they're 6 years out of high school, they're like all mid-20s, 25, I guess?
That's old. That's old. That was not communicated well.
It wasn't, but I kept wondering, Ava keeps coming back from something. What is she coming back from? Where does she live?
Yeah.
College, grad school, med school, life. What? Like, give me something. I want to know what Ava's doing with her life. Nothing.
Deep sigh. Oh, this is terrible. And like, see, here's the thing, like, and like, it's so hard for me because like it hasn't even crossed my mind to think to even compare this new cast to the original cast, because the original cast, every single one of those four are perfectly cast. They all feel like human beings. We love them. And like, this is not that. So I've almost just like started grading, these new characters on just the Scream 6 criteria, because you're right. In the same way that like Scream 6, those younger Gen Z characters had that similar jokey, everything's a big joke kind of a thing. This is that on steroids. And, some people have said, oh, well, it's camp. And I just don't see it as camp. I just see it as like really flat writing.
Do you know what camp is? And I always struggle with this. Camp is when you don't like, this is a perfect example. When they made Mommy Dearest, they didn't make it campy. It was played straight.
Yeah.
And like, this movie is too wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let the audience decide if it's camp.
Exactly.
Like same with Megan. They're like, here's camp. I was like, no. Let us decide.
Yeah.
What camp is.
It is. It was written to be campy. And when you write it to be campy, it's not going to land, at least with certain people. Now, moving forward to the accident. Okay, so this was another disappointment for me, because in the original, and I'm sorry, listeners, to keep comparing it to the original, but in all fairness, it does have the same title. So
the whole movie is like literally taking a architect.
Archetype.
I think the blueprint. That's what I'm attempting. Okay. It's taking the blueprint, like literally, like, and I don't mind that. I was like on board. I was like, okay, we'll do the blueprint. The blueprint. Take the blueprint, but make it like watchable and likable. Like these characters that they introduced us to. Well, first off, I thought Milo was very good looking.
I mean, with those dimples were so cute.
The casting was amazing, and I know this is everything I'm about to say is super shallow, but let me get out of the way. Everyone's dressed totally. I love the way everyone is dressed. It's a young, attractive cast. So, and I think Ray and Julie and where I was spoiling it, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Brandy, everyone looks so great in this movie.
But that's like table stakes. These are all good-looking actors.
Yeah,
so it's like,
hey, a Hollywood movie.
And it's almost like, hey, we made our cast look good. Well, that's pretty easy. They're all...
Okay, you got me in 50%.
They're all hot. Okay, let's talk about the accident, because why I was disappointed was in the original, they hit someone. They hit someone and they moved a body, and the body was still alive, and they did not try to help the person. They did something morally wrong, all four of them, because here's the thing. Yes, Barry was the catalyst and he was being stupid and whatever, but they all agreed, Julie also, to cover it up, move the body, and then not help him when he was alive in the water. That is bad. This group...
Yeah, they literally physically put him in the water together as a group.
This group, they park on the side of the road, and, Teddy is drunk and whatever, and he, like, is in the middle of the road and almost gets hit by a car, and they're like, get out of the road, get out of the road. He won't get out of the road, and so a car is coming, and it swerves to not hit him and goes over the railing. Now, you could argue, yes, he was in the road, but the car swerved. It didn't need to swerve that much, so... Unfortunately, it really wasn't their fault. And they all go and they try to hold the car from falling over the edge.
Them trying to pull and not being able to pull him up is why they're all guilty?
No, but they try. If you try and it fails, so they can't save the car from going over the edge. But then they actually call the police. They don't even just leave it there. The only big mistake they do is when they're driving home, they were going to stop at the police station. They decide not to and not tell anyone. But like in the grand scheme of things, I didn't feel like what they did was that horrible. Okay, Ryan, thoughts?
Absolutely. And that is like the biggest thing and probably the biggest difference between this movie and the original, and where we should criticize this compared to the original, because a key component of the original was the fact that this morality question and the way that doing something immoral changed those characters from year 1 to year 2, and how Julie James just like how it destroyed her life personally, and like that is I mean that's the reason for the season. And I Know What You Did Last Summer, that moral question, and it's lacking here, and it just makes me feel like Gen Z is afraid of like a real moral conversation. Like I feel like I am trying to imagine like if they would have done something similar here, how the audience would have reacted. Like it just to me it shows just how much society has changed, and the conversation in social social culture has changed from the 90s to now.
I mean, I didn't look at it that deep. I totally see what you're saying and stuff, because like I feel like there are still Gen Z people who would make mistakes like we did when we were teens and cover it up and do it. But for me, again, and I keep returning to it, it was poor writing because I think they were like, we can't just have them hit someone again, but like at least you got to make it something that people are going to feel really guilty about. Like, Tim, did you feel that accident was something horrible?
No, because it was a guy standing in the road and then he like, because he was standing, he swerved. So it's almost like, hey, there was 5 witnesses for a bad driver.
Or a driver that was responsible enough that he didn't want to hit the guy in the road. And yes, the guy was being an asshole, but like, it just didn't feel like an entire revenge plot would come from this. So we get to 1 year later, and weirdly, first off, this kind of caught me off guard. Love I guess the risks that the director's doing, but like suddenly Ava's hooking up with a girl, and I don't care, but like all we knew about her from before is that she had some tension between her and Milo. So like hooking up in a bathroom with this random girl who's a podcaster, though I love that. And the name of her podcast was Live, Laugh, Slaughter. That love that name. Weird though, and I remember Tim, you squirming in your seat when that.
Here's the thing, like because like are you sexually promiscuous because you can't deal with the events of a year ago?
That could be.
Like you're suddenly like the way I deal with it is to hook up with strangers. But like the stakes were so much higher. At least it felt that way because they were like the beginning of their lives. They're like, okay, we graduated. We're going off to different places.
In the first movie,
yeah. Okay. In this one, they're just like, oh, we're in our 20s. Like, but did you guys remember? You saw it twice, Ryan. Maybe you can help refresh my memory. Didn't Milo say he had like a political career?
Yeah,
like
he has
don't
like a
even
political
touch
job.
that.
Oh,
no, they don't.
I didn't catch that.
See, I thought that whenever they dropped that would be a reason. Like, so I was like, ooh, that's interesting. So then we get to the accident, and I was thinking, well, if you have a political job, if it comes out that you were involved in a crime or you covered something up, that's really bad for you, and that's a reason. That's a motivation to cover it up.
That would have been a good, better motive than we got.
Touch that. And I was like, I kept waiting for like, oh, well, Hot Milo is going to be a political person, and then he's just cute.
And to change things even more so, like they're all going back. Now Danica's having a different bridal shower with a new guy because apparently her and Teddy broke up. I guess that was one of the only bad things that happened in the aftermath. And she met a new guy and got close enough to be engaged again a year later, which I just was like, I would like, again, they needed to only make it 1 year because you have to say, I Know What You Did Last Summer. But I was like, okay, that's quick. Thoughts on, Wyatt versus Teddy. Who would you guys rather be engaged to?
Both.
Teddy. And like, I absolutely, Teddy's my crush of this movie besides Ray. I mean, Ray is my type, but Teddy is my type of the younger cast.
I was a Wyatt guy because even though he was so just dumb, he was so pretty. And I think Teddy, even though Teddy is very, very good looking, like that the aggro jockness to him.
He couldn't get it he couldn't get it to Barry's level. Like they didn't write him that angry and that mean. Like, remember he like threw Julie up against the car and everything. Yeah. Like they didn't I was waiting for him to like rough up the lead girl Ava, and he didn't do it.
I was like, God, I wanted to see some domestic violence.
No, but I'm saying like Barry was much more nuts, whereas this guy was toned down.
And so Danica gets the note, the I Know What You Did Last Summer note at her shower, and she immediately thinks it's Teddy because they broke up, and like none of them are really that concerned. And guess what? I wasn't concerned either because they didn't really do anything that bad. So like if I got that note, I would have been like, yeah, we didn't go to the police. Okay, next bridal shower. But like we do go to the next part, which is Wyatt's big death scene. Now, I will say this. I thought this was the best kill and death scene of the movie. The big problem is that it was spoiled in all of the trailers.
They did it frame for frame in the trailer. And also Milo and Wyatt look interchangeable.
Well,
little
that's the
bit.
point because
Yeah.
Danica is a vapid bitch. So,
Wait, no, Milo, not Teddy. Oh, yeah. But yes, go on.
so okay, just for the perspective of like, that scene is so well done. Why I don't understand why every single scene in this movie wasn't executed to crisp perfection as that one is, with the intercutting of her being in the bathtub, the sound design, and like downstairs. Like it is so perfectly done, even to the crescendo of her coming down and seeing the spread. It was so well directed. I'm just like, I feel like, again, a part of me thinks, and my philosophy is that like Jennifer Love Hewitt coming back into the project kind of interrupted the second half of the script, because I feel like the first maybe like 40 pages of the script were untouched, so the director could execute whatever her vision was. And then when Jennifer Love Hewitt came into the script midway through filming, that's where all the problems started arising in terms of the tone, in terms of the execution, because it doesn't make sense why that scene is so good and she couldn't replicate it in any other set piece.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Like I was waiting for because when Jennifer Love Hewitt comes in, every scene feels tacked on.
Yeah.
Like feels like, oh, we made this movie. Like, hey, why don't we sprinkle?
Throw her in.
Yeah.
I actually agree 100% with you, Ryan, on that, because I even wrote down, I made some notes about the scenes, and like I had all good notes about the scene. This was one of the only scenes I laughed with the movie versus at the movie. And what I mean is that switching between Danica listening to that cheesy meditation tape as her boyfriend's getting brutally murdered, that's the type of like humor that I feel like the audience can get in on, and not just like being like, this isn't landing. Like that's the type of humor that I was like, oh my God, she is so oblivious to what is going on as she's just relaxing, and her boyfriend, who has nothing to do with this, is getting mutilated. And yes, like the way it was, if I hadn't seen this in the trailer, it would have been scary. The way like it just suddenly like the what was it, the spear gun or something came out of the nowhere, and then like it's saying you can't erase the past near his dead body. But it's like, quickly after this great scene, they're all at the police station, and Danica and Ava are making jokes about how now she's going to be a hot widow. And like I turned to Jacob and I just was like,
this isn't real life.
Didn't her fiance just die? Like, and I just was like, this, like, it felt really off color, and just, again, I'm not like the morality police, but I'm like, it just didn't feel real. I don't think,
because if they're making jokes, us as the audience are not gonna, we're no longer scared. We're no longer on board.
Exactly. We're out of it. And it took me out of it, that brilliant scene. I'm just like, this is their dynamic. And also, guess what, Danica? You just got a warning. You're going to be next. Stop fucking making jokes like the killer's coming after you. And they just are making hot widow jokes. And by the way, you're not a widow if you haven't gotten married yet. Just telling you that, Danica.
Good call, Matt.
So, and the thing about it is, like, I agree with everything that you said, and I guess I am just like kind of like inoculated to it in a way, the type of humor that you're describing and the lack of seriousness. Because like for me, I feel like I've been fighting this war with in terms of like this type of humor for such a long time. I'm just like, well, of course this type of humor would be in it. Like it's like the same thing with Scream 6. Mindy loses her girlfriend, then the next scene she has her eyes on Ethan. Like it's so infuriating why filmmakers can't make movies more serious these days.
Yeah, and to go back to the original, the main cast only finds out about like other deaths in the movie at the end, and Julie is traumatized. She ain't making jokes like
I am all for a fun in the characters being funny, but it's not a time and place for everything. And trust me, I had fun watching this movie, but scenes like that really a bug.
Yeah, that really, it just bugged me and took me out of it. So we moved to what I feel like is the only real chase scene we got in a movie that is so famous for that chase scene with Helen, that is one of my favorite chase scenes of all time. It's the scene with Tyler, the podcaster, in the old Shivers store. Now, points to the filmmakers for bringing back the Shivers store, for bringing back the pulley elevator and all that.
I have to talk about this.
Please, go.
The movie has, again, it doesn't conjure up much suspense. Like, we're used to Friday 13th and Halloween's, and like we've had a heavy dose.
The two best franchises?
Right.
Just
exactly.
kidding. No. And Scream.
And Scream. But like these films take place at night. These chases in broad daylight. I was like, are we watching like a TV series? Like it didn't feel like a big blockbuster movie. I felt like it was very like, okay, we're gonna film this during the day, and it just started happening, and I was just like, oh, okay, I guess it's happening.
How did you guys feel about the Tyler chase scene and her pulling herself up the elevator like Helen did? Like, did you like it? Was it a failed attempt?
For me, this was when the movie started to go off the rails. Like whenever she showed, I mean, as somebody who was wearing a shirt with Helen Shivers on it, like the minute I saw her pull out and show her Helen Shivers shirt, I was like, okay, we are not in reality anymore. In terms of the suspense and like the chase, I didn't like it. I didn't think that I didn't think that there was tension. I didn't think that even the actress sold it. Like, the way that her body physically moved through that scene. Compare Madeline Klein in the cemetery later on to Sarah Michelle Gellar's body language in her chase scene in 1997, night and day. It wasn't effective to me. The only thing about this sequence that I really, really liked was the Scream reference where she pulls off the mask.
And she says you like, but here's the thing. Now knowing who the killer was, and we'll get to that, and we're going to spoil it because we do. So if you haven't seen it and don't want to know, don't keep listening. But now that I look back, well, obviously it's pretty obvious who the killer is because this podcaster only knows people from 1997. So she wouldn't be like you to Milo, I
don't think she even met him. And did the podcaster meet the group? I don't think so.
She only met Ava and Milo when she got that ride from them, remember? And she hooked up with Ava.
Like they got the script, like she had the knife and like she cut someone's arm. So I was like, okay, whoever in the movie has like the bandage on the arm is the killer. So that didn't play out until
I agree. I did think it was clever, the page that fell on top of Ava. With that said, who would get that right? And timed right? Like these killers are not so precise that they would get that right. So we finally get to introducing Julie. This is I call like the legacy segment because we get like Julie at the university and Ray at the town hall. And Julie is a professor. And now I'm going to caveat this with, I thought every scene with Julie I enjoyed because I thought she was doing her character justice. And I think she was playing it straight. She wasn't there to make jokes. She did have a couple one-liners like with nostalgia's overrated, but it felt earned. It didn't feel fake. So when Julie was the professor at the university talking about like PTSD and trauma, like I believed it. Ava seeks her out and, they have tea and she's telling her all about that, I don't know. She tells Ava, you got to kill them before they kill you. I was like, this is something I think Julie in hindsight would look back and be like, hey, we did the wrong thing. We're trying to like solve everything. We should have just gone after this guy because the four of us together could have killed him. So she's giving Ava advice. And then we have Ray showing up at the town hall saying that everyone's ignoring what happened to him in 1997. Yeah. And so now, we also find out that Ray is Stevie's boss. So it's like, he's connected to one of the people in this accident. Does he know? Whatever. And they also introduce in this town hall this completely forgettable character, this random creepy worship guy who I think they wanted to make a red herring.
Guys, he was just a red herring that went really nowhere.
Yeah. So I want to get Ryan thoughts on how they brought Julie and Ray into the story.
Well, so I will answer that, but I just want to address the pastor and like that whole thing because they were trying to make him the red herring of the movie, right? In the same way that one of my favorite parts of I Know What You Did Last Summer is the way that Helen and Julie kind of investigate David Egan and it leads to Ben Willis and we learn all of that. And that all makes perfect sense. We go step by step by step. Everyone knows what happened there. Here, like I would love to pick any random person, who saw I Know What You Did Last Summer and ask them in their own words to explain this subplot with the pastor and how it actually makes sense, and they wouldn't be able to. And that's a problem for I Know What You Did Last Summer, where the mystery is different than just a whodunit. As it pertains to Julie and Ray, I agree with what you said about Julie. Like her scenes are played in the reality of like the spirit of the Julie we know. But at the same time, she's in a different movie. She's so disconnected, and my thing is like. We have talked about the trio in Scream 5 to death. We in terms of like what worked about them, what didn't work. Jennifer Caitlin Robinson had all these years and to think about how to use the legacy, and it just feels like I don't have the screen times yet. I will soon, but I would love to. I bet that Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt have at least half of the screen time of the trio in Scream 5, who already didn't have enough. So it's just like they were so undercut. That being said, I do think Freddie Prinze Jr. gives a really good performance throughout the film.
Okay. They have one scene together, which I think fans of the original were really like clamoring for. And you find out that but this okay, I had an issue with this because you find out that Julie and Ray like are used to be married, but were never given a reason as to why they broke up, what happened. They just don't like each other now. And this is where I'm going to bring it into your territory, Ryan, because in Scream 5, one of the most emotional scenes for me was when Gail finds Dewey and they have that talk about him leaving her in New York because he could have cut it, and you could see the emotions, and like you get an explanation in a short scene of what happened, why they are apart, but they still love each other. We got none of that between Julie and Ray. I have no idea why they broke up. They could have really set up a better motive for someone like Ray if she said, like, you started becoming distant, you started getting more angry at the, you know, like, or something. Like
it could have gone the soap opera route,
but nothing.
Did you guys notice? I'm like a little off topic, but when she finally found Jennifer Love Hewitt, I think it's the same location from Nightmare on Elm Street 3 where like he gets the pills.
Wait, when she finally what?
When the lead girl finds Jennifer Love Hewitt at the college.
Yes.
Is it the same college where Nightmare on Elm Street 3 was filmed?
Oh God, who knows?
That's stuff I was thinking about.
I mean, but schools, I'm trying to think of the one in
like,
Nightmare 3.
Was it the same school?
We'd have to look. I mean, that's a very deep cut.
Also, like, this is where my mind was during the film. Like they obviously didn't film they filmed in Australia. So they didn't go back to the location. So already, and I know that they were trying to make like this perfect Southport. Is it Southport?
Yes.
The perfect Southport, but it didn't have the feel. For me, it just like the location matters.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because that was another point that disappointed me, is that I thought when I saw the previews for this movie, I was like, I'm so glad they're taking this movie back to Southport, because one of my problems with I Still Know was the Bahamas didn't feel like a scary setting. And the Southport, the way those camera shots of like the cliffs and when they're on the beach and when they're driving and just all the fishermen, it just felt like small town, East Coast. Like it just gave me a great horror movie setting feeling. This one, it felt like they were in like Santa Monica or like a beach town. Like it didn't feel like Southport.
Or even Miami Beach.
Yeah, I was like, where's the East Coast fisherman vibe? Like, why did they pick Australia? And if they're gonna pick an area, like you've had 28 years with this movie, like that really replicates that. I mean, do you agree, Ryan, or did you think the setting worked?
I don't think the setting works, and I think that, like, they would say that, oh well, this is part of the theme of the movie. It's about gentrification, and it's about government corruption, and about the small town being corrupted into this big vacation spot. Like, and I think that was what was intended, but it doesn't translate on film, so it just feels like it doesn't match up with the original film. And like, I feel like watching this back to back with the original film is going to be like watching Stu's House in 1996 versus Stu's House in 2022.
Yeah.
And like, just going back to what you asked about Julie and Ray, because it is really worth pointing out, is like, I know Dewey's death is controversial in Scream 5, but you have to give the writers props in that movie for kind of doing a very artfully, beautifully crafted arc for him, in terms of like, we learn how we learn about their divorce and what happened with them. It is explained. It is, it's ironed out and shown to us, so that whenever he chooses to go back and lead what leads to his death, there's an arc that's fulfilled about him being a coward, and there's just none of that here. It's so surface level. And especially if you're going to make Ray the killer, you needed to juice this and milk this, because we have been with these characters for 28 years. Like, this is important, and especially like, because allegedly he died, we'll never get another opportunity for Julie and Ray to kind of have this conversation, or for Julie to have this closure, or learn what happened with them.
Yeah, I mean,
we didn't get that discussion.
Not at all. And like, I mean, this is Ray. This is the character that, like, went after Julie in the boat on the first one, put himself in danger to try to help her. This is the same person who, when he was injured in the second movie, like went all the way to the Bahamas in a storm by himself to save Julie. Now you're saying that so much trauma has changed him into someone who not only is going to be a killer, but is going to try to put the blame on Julie. Anyway, we'll get to the end. I want to go through a few other highlights before we get to the end, but like, there's Danica's attack at the cemetery, which there were a few little fan fan service moments I liked in this. I did like that they covered and showed the graves of like all the victims from the first one, even Elsa, because I felt like are they gonna not like acknowledge that also Helen's sister was killed?
I know, I like that.
I like that. And they said Max's name, and they said they saw his and I did like, me being crude, liked when Teddy made the joke about Barry and his big old cocks. Because his name is Barry Cox. You missed that? Oh, I heard it. So Danica gets attacked, and she has, I guess, what would be another sort of chase scene, but it really was more a hiding scene. They really wanted to get her in the Croaker Queen area, but Teddy knocks the killer down to save her, and it's very anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And it goes nowhere.
Poorly executed. Like it's kind of an awkward scene. Like I don't even think Madeline Klein is like she's not acting with like the urgency of like, you know, I'm really under attack here. I didn't like it. It was kind of almost confusing. It felt choppily edited, in my opinion. It was a weird scene, and I think like as we go forward from here on out, like the rest of the movie is just there is just scene after scene, set piece after set piece that is just weirdly constructed and like just choppy.
And not only that, I'm a huge music person. The music throughout this film, not great.
No, yeah.
It was very uninspired.
And did you guys notice, and I usually don't look at little details like this, that's more like a Tim thing, but like, did you guys notice when they were in the cemetery, it looked so fake. Yeah. It was such a set, and I rarely noticed that. Like, I know this is going to kill you, Ryan, but I didn't even mind the Stu's house set in Scream 5 as much as I know you did. Tim, I know, noticed it right away. And I was like, I did know it was set, but I didn't mind as much. This, it was like owl sound cemetery, bring on the fog machines, get the fake grass, and like it looked like my Halloween party, to be honest.
Goosebumps.
It just really, yes, goosebumps from my Halloween party. I'm like, come on, guys, it's a big budget film, like get a good cemetery in there. But anyway, then we get Milo's very anticlimactic death. Like there's a semi-sex scene where they tried to make a joke that I guess Ava wants to be choked now, and he's weirded out, and he makes like a joke in his car, which for me just fell flat. I just wasn't laughing. And then he just gets strangled by a rope really slowly, and his neck snapped. And it was sad because he was a nice guy, but like, again, like you said, the kills were getting less and less inspired as they went on.
Oh my gosh, this one was the most painful. I was just like, him going out to the car. I mean, I know it was.
I can sell choker.
Yeah, it was just like, don't talk to yourself. None of this is working. I don't know.
Didn't you guys want him in the backseat of the car? I mean, I know that's expected, but at least that would have been a little scary. I thought the killer would be there. Yeah.
It was just an awkward scene. It was an awkward thing to leave the house. And like when he left the house, it wasn't scary. And it was just kind of boring. And then they were again going for the joke of like, ooh, you know, I'm such a beta guy in 2025. I have to work myself up to have BDSM. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and like also, I think they're like, I'm sure the filmmakers were like, oh, like the audience is like, oh, he's going outside. That's where the killer is. I didn't feel that.
Yeah, there was no suspense. Speaking of another part where there was zero suspense, Teddy in the sauna. First off, right away, I was getting major gay bathhouse vibes. Like when he's sitting there,
people in there.
Yeah, there's other people in there. He's just looking at their legs. He's sitting there. Like I'm like, okay. And obviously, they only put this scene in so they could have the message "You're next" on the Steam and have that callback to like the ending scene of "I Know What You Did Last Summer." But guess what? Then nothing happens. I was waiting for him to be attacked at the gym like Barry was, for him to like the lights to go out in the sauna. Guess what? Nothing happened. He just goes home, and his big attack scene is at home. And this whole part confused me because there was this weird statue in his house that looked like a fisherman, but then the real fisherman is hiding behind the statue. So I'm like, why does he have a statue of a fisherman?
And like you would clearly see, and I know he was drinking, there was like 8 beers there. You would clearly see that there's 2. Yeah. Not just one.
The only thing, and also like they really gave him a good fight scene, but like I guess in terms of he fought back the most before getting killed, but like I didn't really like him that much, so I was sort of rooting for the fisherman.
I was like, you know what? I was waiting for like a hook in the head. It never came. I mean, I know that the Rocketeer, Billy Campbell, got it through the neck, but that's, I know from the Rocketeer. That's 1990, the Rocketeer.
Ryan, what are your thoughts?
My philosophy about this sequence is there was a lot more between the gym and the big set piece at the house with him and his dad, but because they were adding Jennifer Love Hewitt back in and like they needed to keep this part of the movie shorter, they were taking things out that would have made this sequence make more sense. And as it stands, it's not suspenseful. Again, it's choppy, it's weird. I didn't like the way that the action was staged. It didn't really flow naturally, and I was just not. I kind of liked the emotion of him yelling for his mother. That was it, you know.
I was waiting for that to come into play. I was like, oh, are we gonna get a scene with like the mom and the dad running through the house? We didn't get it.
No, and it did remind me of like Barry. Remember when his mom's in the house and he's trying to like, you shut the hell up, because he doesn't want his mom to hear. I will say this, and again, because I try to look for, especially if I didn't hate a movie, I try to look for some of the positive aspects of it. And like I said earlier in this, I did enjoy watching this movie, even though I thought it kind of made a mockery of the series and was a big joke. I did enjoy the dad finding him there and getting a really brutal hook through the side of the neck, because it was really painstakingly slow, but it was different. And when you think about the fisherman having this hook and all the things he could do with it, it's like you might as well just hook someone through the side of their neck. So that was good. I'm shocked Billy Campbell was like, yeah, just kill me in the most brutal manner.
Do you think the killer at that point was Stevie or Ray?
It was Ray. Come on.
I mean, I don't know.
Because this is so central to the film's supposed theme, right? It's about the rich people who have corrupted Southport, and I'm certain that if there's any logic to this movie, that Ray was carrying out him helping Stevie was for him to kill this guy. That's what I think.
Well, and yes, that definitely could be, I'm sure, a big part of it. We have the small Danica's dream sequence where we get a cameo from Sarah Michelle Gellar. Now, obviously, I was as happy as everyone to see this, and not just that. Did you guys have any idea she was going to be in it? Because I didn't. Oh, you did?
I knew it was Freddie Prinze Jr. as the killer. I knew Sarah was in it. I knew.
Oh,
I went into this movie really blind. I mean, I saw the trailer, but that was a good surprise.
I had a friend online say, I'm hearing rumors about Freddie being or Ray being a killer. Do you think that could be? And so I remember thinking, no, they would never assassinate his character like that. Like, no, they wouldn't want to do that. But that was in my head. So when it found out, I wasn't as shocked. I had no idea Sarah Michelle Gellar was going to be in it. So I was very delighted to see her in that scene. My only issue was, again, in the same vein of the rest of the humor of the movie, her scene almost felt like it was more like a yes queen, like I'm Helen Shivers. What you talk about? Like it was another joke. Yeah. And Helen was never a joke. I thought she was going to give her a real warning or real advice.
The way I think that played out. She went to Australia with Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yes.
The director was like, you know what? We should do something with SMG. And she goes, you know what? I'm here. And so they were just like, that's the way I think it planned out. And she looked
so
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And honestly, can I just be controversial? Sarah Michelle Gellar gives the best performance in this movie.
Yeah,
even doing the drag queen, yes queen kind of thing, like with the humor and like even with all of that, she's still committed better than anybody else. And she did look pretty, and but I'm also like the biggest Sarah Michelle Gellar fan. Like I have seen every movie she's ever done, like a good 12 times. But even so, like I don't know if this scene was necessary. And honestly, I was so annoyed that the girls were being locked in the police station weirdly again all night. That didn't make sense. I was just kind of distracted by it. It was just it slowed down the pace. I don't know.
It definitely wasn't necessary. I'm happy it was in there just for selfish fan service reasons. I know that it was 100% fan service, but being a fan, I didn't mind because I wanted to see her. I just wish, and I agree that her performance was great. She looked great. I just wish they had given her something a little bit more substantial, even as a dream. I think that they just could have, Okay, so we get to the big ending, the confrontation on the boat, because like Teddy and his dad's bodies are strung up in the town, which how did Ray and Stevie get those bodies up there without anyone seeing anyone? Apparently nobody is around at night in Southport. So Ray tells the three girls, like Ava, Danica, and Stevie, like, get on the boat, get away from town. The killer's after you. And that's when, again, the cops arrive at that church and find that the pastor's dead. I had no investment in the pastor.
This movie, I know this happens in horror films, but they're like non-existent.
Oh yeah, of course. But they were all hot. Did you notice the cops? Yeah. The cops, like, they really love to hire like models as cops because
it's a long time since I've seen like a ridiculously hot cast. So you know what?
It's like been a long time. Yeah. So, and the one thing they find this picture of the victim from the accident, and apparently he was the boyfriend of Stevie, and big surprise, Stevie, one of the 5 involved in the accident, is the killer, and she reveals herself, and they have a big struggle on the boat. Now, here's my issue. I'm just going to put this out there. Okay, Stevie, you were part of that group. Mm-hmm. So you're mad at yourself? Or you're mad at them, or are you taking your own guilt out on them? Because I know she had some line like, oh, I could have killed myself, but I thought it'd be more fun to kill you guys, which was just so weak. But like, I just was like, you're so angry, but you were part of this.
You were there that night.
You were there that night, and you didn't go to the police station. So why are you so angry at these girls? And you spent a year getting really close to Danica again just to do this. It felt weird. I know they wanted to shock us and have someone from the group be the killer, but to me it was weak.
Well, I actually was more surprised by Ray. I mean, granted, I wasn't like, oh, but
well, thoughts from you guys on Stevie being the killer and like the believability and all of that.
I can believe it. I thought that Sarah Pigeon did an okay job acting the scene, but overall, like, you know, your problem, Matt, the way I kind of read what you were saying is that like there just wasn't enough time for the motive to be clearly communicated. I feel like it was too rushed, and again, had she had just like 2 more minutes where she could monologue like a scream killer, it would have made more sense. But the way that it is now is just rushed and sloppy and just kind of a shrug, you know.
And she was like, what are you doing, diva? I'm like, I don't want my killer speaking like that. Like, she was like, hey, diva.
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan of cracking jokes when you're just about to die.
You know, okay, one thing I will say, I'm going to actually backtrack on what I said there, because I just remembered that the group had dropped her as a friend when her dad, like, I think was doing drugs or something, and she went to rehab. And so that I get as a reason to be like, these people are all trash and I hate them. But remember, she went with them on July 4th to do that. So if she hadn't and just been an outsider and always had like anger toward them, it would have made more sense. But then she would have been too obvious. Like, let's say she wasn't involved.
They invited her. It's not like, I actually would have, you know, if they ignored her and was like, let's go without her, then kill her.
That's what I was going to say. That's exactly would have been a reason. It's like, oh my God, you guys were involved in an accident that killed my boyfriend. You guys treated me like shit. You've never been nice to me. I'm going to kill you.
It's almost like the way they treated Max. Like, they didn't even give Max the time of day.
No, and then Max gets killed by the killer. Yeah. It had nothing to do with it. Yeah, but like, so that was why I was just like, but again, if she had been a full outsider, she would have been an obvious killer. So then Ray gets to the boat to help them. You think he's going to help them, and he shoots Stevie right after she stabbed Danica. They both go overboard, and it's really down to just Ray and Ava. And here's where we get our final confrontation. And this is where things, way to like just throw Julie into the ending conflict, because basically Ava's like questioning, how could Stevie have done this herself?
She was literally stabbed in the back, like almost like the movie Clue, just like walking around with a knife in her back. It's like
She tells Julie, I think, and this is, okay, questions for you guys, because when she calls up Julie and says she's safe, Stevie was the killer, but I wonder how she could do it herself. Right away, Julie knows that Ray helped her. And I guess it's like, I get that they were estranged, but I didn't get enough from this movie to think that Julie would go to the extreme of thinking her ex-husband could be a murderer. And that's why I was so surprised that she right away put it together.
Like, I'll Google it. Oh, Ray's a killer.
She was like, oh, Ray worked with Stevie. He must have been a killer. I'm going to go out there to help her.
How convenient. And it's just also, you know, I also feel bad for Freddie Prinze Jr. and the character of Ray, because he doesn't even get the moment to reveal himself, to have that moment of shock. Like, it's a letdown in a lot of respects. It's very lazy.
It is, and it's like, so of course this was their way of getting Julie. Julie got to Southport real fast, because she's there, and like Tim said, Ava comes out stabbed in the back.
Well, first of all, this is such besides the point. Who cares? I loved her outfit. I really did. She had like a cute little white skirt and like a white a red polo.
Best
I loved
out,
it.
but okay, and you are right. All their outfits were great, but like, does anybody dress that nicely just to hang out like on the weekends? Like the way they were dressing was like every day was either a fashion show or a bridal shower.
I felt they were doing a J. Crew cover shoot.
Every day. So Julie confronts Ray, obviously, and this is where we get his supposed motive. It's twofold. Number one, he hates that Southport basically erased everything that happened to him, which, he thinks they're just trying to cover it up to get more people to live there. And he was using what happened to them to help Stevie get revenge for what happened to her. And he also says he's going to blame it all on Julie. And it just felt like this isn't the Ray that I knew from these two first movies. Now, again, not that Ray was ever my favorite character, but if this movie is going to take a swing to turn him into a killer, you got to give me enough to truly believe he would be a killer. And that's where it failed for me.
And they could have done that with a couple of more scenes or just better description. And like, I agree with you about Julie making that jump. Like, I don't believe that like if you've been married to somebody and you've survived these other attacks with them, that you would immediately suspect that they were a killer. It was a leap. And like, also, I'm just kind of disappointed with Julie in the confrontation with Ray. I just think that like there was so much more conversation to have been had that wasn't had. And like Jennifer Love Hewitt, I don't know if you guys noticed, but she literally doesn't move once she and Ray start talking. She literally stands on the mark the entire finale and his entire monologue. It's just so it makes Sydney shooting doors in Scream 5 look like the Sydney of Scream 2 knocking everything off the stage, or Sydney in Scream 3 going head to head with Roman. Like,
shooting who in Scream 5?
Oh, shooting the doors in Scream 5. Like that was Sydney's
I thought you said
big
shooting
action.
Doris, and I was like, who was Doris?
No, but because like we kind of like joke about this, like, oh, Nev Campbell came back in Scream 5 just to shoot Doris. Well, Jennifer Love Hewitt came back, and I know what she did last summer, to stand in the same spot while Freddie Prinze Jr. monologued.
Yeah, there was zero confrontation.
Didn't it look like they were in different scenes because they kept cutting?
Point. I was
Julie,
like, is she even there?
Right. Like I was like, is she in there? Okay, and then this was my number one problem with their treatment of Julie. Of all things, number one, she got no chase or even a struggle with Ray. She yells her signature line, "What are you waiting for?" And then Ava shoots him with a spear gun. But it looked like Julie was just going to sit there, and Ray like raises up the hook, like she was going to let him hook her. I was like, what happened to the fighter, Julie? And
do you know how effective it would have be if like he was going down with the hook and like she grabbed like right here, like just
yes, and they struggled. She takes a bottle, smashes it over his head. They have a struggle in the thing. I'm shocked that Jennifer Love Hewitt, who I read wanted to be integral to this movie, is like, I'm going to go up against Ray at the end, say one line, and that's it. Like, I'm not going to get a struggle. I mean, look, if Jamie Lee Curtis is doing full-on brutal fight scenes at like 63, like Jennifer Love Hewitt could have done it. So I'm really shocked that they had her yell a line at him, and that's it.
Yeah, it really. I think this is. I mean, like, this is what I think. The filmmakers were like, "Hey, we got Sarah Michelle Gellar, we got Ray, we got Julie James. Like, we have all of it." And then they're like, we don't know what to do with it. Like, you know, like they got it all. And they're just like, I think just getting them is enough.
No one said on set.
But we're like, okay, you got it all, but what are you going to do with it?
No one said on set, like, hey, why doesn't Julie have a final confrontation with Ray? Like, that's what people would want.
No notes.
Well, but also, you know, it would have been so thematically rich and like on a character level, long term, for Julie to have killed Ray. And like also the irony of like the fact that in the first film, Julie thought it was Ray, or she was suspicious. That's what led her to get attacked by Ben Willis. They didn't play on that irony. It was just so much missed potential. And like the way it all kind of goes down is just so quick. Like it's just anticlimactic.
Yeah.
And then speaking of anticlimactic, this is where I will say this actually happened. I literally turned to Jacob in a movie and said, what the fuck is this? What is going on? The ending with the two girls at the hospital just eating, making jokes. They're talking about how hungry they are. They're like, oh, I heard Stevie's still alive. Should we kill her? Probably. Oh, men need therapy.
That
like it was
really tacked on.
It was so bad.
It's disappointing.
It was really bad dialogue. They're making jokes, like the whole thing, like your friends literally were murdered. You guys were attacked. This is what I would think is some serious shit, and they're cracking jokes.
She's like, you're a mermaid. She goes, maybe I am a mermaid.
Awful.
I was like,
awful.
Don't get me wrong. I love dumb humor. I love dumb writing. I love dumb people. I'm one of them. But I didn't want this.
No, you're not, Tim. I really did turn to Jacob and said, what the fuck is this? Because that dialogue was so cringe.
Very
can I just say, like, my interpretation of this thing, because like the fact whenever I saw Madeline Klein wash up on the beach, that was my moment again. I had it. I was like, this is so, I'm over this. Like, part of what made the original movie so good was the fact that Barry and Helen both died. Like, their deaths are so sad. We love them so much, and then they're taken away from us. That's the tragedy in that, and that doesn't exist here. And I think what the director was trying to do is play on this, like, again, very online narrative that, Helen should have survived, and give us the ending with the two best friends, girl boss thing. And like, to me, that's not interesting. There's no truth and integrity of storytelling in that. It's lame. And it's just not logical. Madeline Klein, getting stabbed by a hook and then floating into the sea, like, and then back onto shore. Like, there are so many logic loopholes you have to go through to even make sense of that. It's so frustrating. It's unserious. And I'm disappointed.
She would have either bled out in the water or not had the strength to swim, or not even had the strength to swim ashore because she was bleeding and everything. Luckily, we get what I thought literally was my favorite part of the entire movie, the post-credit scene where they bring back Brandy, aka Carla, from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. It's really funny because she's watching the news with her husband, and she has said, now this is an example of a place in the movie where I think you can crack jokes and it makes sense, because we're already through the main action, and she's watching the news, she sees everything that happened with Julie and Ray, and she says, everyone's trying to kill that woman. And she says she just can't catch a break.
That whole scene caught the tone. It hit the beats.
Perfect.
It was on. But everything that we just saw prior to that, enjoyable, but like you said, I think we all said, missed opportunity.
And then they had Julie arrive, which I loved, because we got to see Jennifer Love Hewitt and Brandy together, and she tells her she needs her help, and she shows her there's like these pictures of both of them, and Carla's face is crossed out, and it says like, this isn't over, and it ends with Carla saying, who we fucking up this time? And I was just like, that was brilliant. Like, that was the great way of reintroducing that character, making it comedic in a time when you can be comedic. In a post-credit scene, the action's over. You don't have to take things seriously. It was fun. And to be honest, like, I'd rather see that movie of them coming together and hunting down whoever's going after them. Mm-hmm. That was my favorite scene of the movie. Thoughts on that scene? I mean, I know you just gave them. So Ryan, thoughts on that scene?
I agree. It's, I think, probably the best scene in the movie, besides, of course, the death scene and the bathtub scene at the beginning. And with Brandy, it's just like, she understood the tone. She was, again, why are the cameo actors the best actors in the movie? Sarah Michelle Gellar and Brandy. Whenever I saw Brandy and she was giving her jokes talking to her husband, I was like, the Leonardo DiCaprio meme, I was like, that's Brandy, that's Carla from 1998. I know her. And it just felt like home, And I actually, you talking about the humor in it, I thought that like this was one of the more serious, dramatic moments in the movie for Julie showing up. Like, it's just like, I don't know. And it's sad that like we're saying this about, the post-credit scene, but it is what it is.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we're going to try something, but the last 2 minutes of the film.
Yeah. So, overall, I'll go first on this, because overall, I mean, I think if you're listening to this, you've heard us, rag on a lot of aspects of the movie, but I think truly the reason why I think I'm so disappointed is because I wanted so much from this, and I guess I was expecting so much. It's been a long time since we've gotten a true I Know What You Did Last Summer movie, a movie that felt like was going to go back to the roots of the original, a movie with the original characters, a movie that was positioned to be like the original. And I was so excited for that, and so excited for this movie, that I was really expecting and hoping for more. I really think the most I can say is summed up into, I just felt like the characters in this film weren't taking what was going on seriously, and even the writer everything was a big joke, and like, I wasn't in on it as the audience. Like, I was hoping for a serious but fun slasher. I got a entertaining slasher. It was not serious at all. And I really thought taking the big swing with Ray as the killer, look, maybe I would have bought into it more if you had given me more reason and more development of his character, so I would have expected it or thought it would have made sense. But otherwise, I feel like it was just a surprising twist for a surprising twist's sake. And so that's kind of my overall thoughts on the movie. I will definitely be rewatching it. I will definitely be buying it, because I could see myself revisiting this and at least having a pretty good time with it, but I'm never going to think it's like a very smart slasher or that it's on par with either of the first two films. Okay, Tim, what's your final thoughts on this?
So, obviously the film's been out for 28 years. So we've probably watched it every summer. So we've seen it 28 times. Let's just say that. So we've seen this movie a lot. We love these characters. And then to bring them back in such a quick, sloppy way, I hate to use the word sloppy. I hate to criticize it because I'm so happy it was made. I'm happy.
Happy horror time. Yes.
But I was so happy it was made. So yeah, I do want to see it again, and maybe in the big screen. I don't know. But it's just the stakes seem so low. I wanted to love it, and I just kind of was like, I liked it. Okay. And that's it.
Ryan, overall thoughts on I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025.
And so you mentioned how big of a risk it was to make Ray the killer. And I like that audacity, and I like that it's something that Scream hasn't done. So that'd be like if Scream 5 would have made Gail Weathers the killer. It would have been so shocking, and it should have been so shocking. It should have been groundbreaking, and it just wasn't because it wasn't explained. And I think overall, I think that the first half hour, 45 minutes, great, but it just became sloppy, and I can't really excuse that. And I just don't understand why, like, the weird choices, the awkward moments, and the camp of it all, the Gen Z humor of it all. Again, like you, Matt, this is going to be part of my life, whether I like it or not. So, I did enjoy it on the second time more. My problems reduced as I watched it, in the rewatch. So who knows, we'll see. But I am disappointed overall, but happy disappointed.
It's very similar to what my feelings originally were for Halloween Kills. I thought there was a ton of cringe dialogue in that, really weird performances, and I didn't like the way they extended 2018, which is a movie I really love. But I still watch it all the time, and I can still enjoy it. And I feel like I can get there with this movie. Again, you're hearing us, listeners, break down everything and reasons why we were disappointed.
You love a mess.
But sometimes you do love a mess, and there is the like, oh, it's so bad it's good kind of thing. No, this wasn't that, because it still is kind of bad, and it still is kind of, and I use the word stupid to be honest, but it can be stupid fun, and that can be a way to enjoy a movie. And again, like, if someone asked me, would you recommend this, I wouldn't not recommend it. And trust me, there are some movies that have come out recently I'm like just telling friends, stay away from this, it's a waste of time. I wouldn't tell people to stay away from this. I just would tell, especially hardcore fans of the original, this is not going to be on par with that. And the new characters are not going to have the same weight hold the same weight that the original ones did.
And can I just share one last thing about this? So, it's so interesting to me because, like, the idea of having to recommend it, I would recommend it to everybody because I have not been able to predict anyone's reaction to this. And I'm pretty good. Like, I know people's taste, and I can pretty much guess whether someone's going to like something or not. Every single person I have, been trying to figure out, like, they've surprised me in their reaction. And, like, it's just such a divisive movie. Like, no one has the same opinion as somebody else. It's so interesting just how this movie is just this weird thing that is, coming onto the scene, and everyone is looking at it differently. I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's a good
We're
point.
talking about it.
And we all have, I don't know what if you had any expectations of what our opinion would be. Did it match what you thought we were going to think?
No, so I told Jacob, I was like, well, I don't want to be like the Debbie Downer on the podcast. I thought that you guys would. I thought that you'd be a little bit more positive than I was, but we seem to match each other's energy.
Yeah. I think it just I went in fully expecting. I mean, I clapped when Tim, you were next to me. I clapped when I Know What You Did Last Summer came on the screen. Like, I was so hyped, and Tim looked at me like, yeah, Tim's like, what? That's how much of a fan I am and how excited I was. And then by the end,
did a woo.
Yeah, I did do a woo. I was excited. Tim was embarrassed. He's coward. Anyway, Ryan, this has been so much fun. I hope you have enjoyed yourself on our show. It's so fun because you have such great insight on the things, and you're a true fan like us of these movies. And so I'm so glad that we had you on specifically for this episode. We will definitely have you on again. Before we go, tell everyone like your socials, where they can find your podcast and all that.
So you can find me at Scream with RCS across all social media platforms, and I'm Scream with Ryan C. Showers on all podcast platforms. So please check me out. If you can stomach, because I mean, people probably have seen my opinions and they're probably annoyed by me. That's fine.
Well, okay. Well, first off, like, no one should be annoyed by someone else's opinion because it's just an opinion, you know. Like,
even by yours.
yeah, I get annoyed by Tim's opinion. No. I mean, it doesn't reflect on who you are as a person. Also, I have been dying to ask you, what does the C stand for in Ryan C. Showers?
Christian.
Oh,
Is that your middle name?
Yeah.
Ryan Christian Showers.
That's
Oh.
true.
I was thinking Charles.
Charles. Ew, what am I, like 78? No thanks.
Oh, Tim's like, that's my middle name.
That's
Exactly.
Timothy Charles
Timothy
Murdoch.
Charles Murdoch. No, it's David.
It is David.
Oh, and my middle name is Brooks. Anyway, that's how we'll end it. So anyway,
You know our middle name.
yay, middle names. Okay, thank you again, Ryan, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone for listening, and bye.
I know you did last summer. Thanks for listening to another episode of Happy Horror Time.
If you'd like to support the podcast, please sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime. As a patron, you get access to all our bonus content, which now includes 2 new bonus episodes every month, a monthly after show mini episode, access to our Discord community so you can chat with us directly, and the chance to review a film with us in one of our bonus episodes.
Patrons also get all our regular episodes ad-free and a day early, our monthly newsletter, the chance to vote in polls, and autographed Happy Horror Time stickers.
I'm Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch.
And we hope you have a happy horror time.